Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. Second hour kicking off right now on this April Fools. Happy April 1st, everybody. Thanks for making us a part of your start. If you are up and at it, and you should be, get out of bed right now if your alarm is going off. All right, it's 7 o'clock. Get out of bed. I know Eau Claire's on spring break. Kids, go ahead and sleep in. You get this week. So my kid's probably already up right now anyway, so. But hopefully if you are up and at it, you're off to a fantastic start here this morning. We are taking yours, since it is April Fools. Who is a player, who is a team, or what was a sports move that you were completely fooled on? All right? We all had them, right? We've all had them. There is nobody as a sports fan that was 100% correct on everything they thought. There's no such thing. And if you think there is, if you think you're one of them, you're a fool in itself, okay? There's a trade, or there was a draft pick, or there was a team that you thought was going to be really good, and no. Like Josh Rosen, I thought, I was like, okay, that might be a sneaky pick. Wrong. Well, we all have them. So who are some of the big ones? Like you personally, because I know, again, if we did this like all time, I'm sure Tony Mandrich would be on the list for everybody, okay? So let's just kind of take Tony Mandrich out of it. And I'm too young. I was just in my wee little lad years, so I can't put him on my list. I'm trying to think of ones that I personally was fooled on. All right, and it doesn't have to necessarily be on your favorite team either. It could be on a different team. You kind of thought maybe somebody was going to be, oh yeah, that team got that guy. Oh my gosh, that is going to be so good. We are so, we're donezo, and it didn't work out. So, all right, keep those coming. We've had a good list so far, but if you've got like a team too, we haven't had anybody kind of throw a team in there. And I did post this on Facebook last night, and somebody did throw in the Packers over the last few years. And I think that's kind of fair. And I think, for maybe some people, Wisconsin sports fans in general, maybe it was just this Badger basketball team this year too. Kind of thought, hey, they could be a team that gets the Sweet 16, maybe the Elite Eight, and nope, first round exit. Get throw Badger back. I like Surveyor Sam's Luke Fickell one so far. Been fooled on that one. We've been fooled on that. Our resident Raiders fan, Matthew, chiming in saying when Devontae Adams got traded to the Raiders, I was 100% convinced that was a Super Bowl year. Oh, man. Yeah, good. Okay. Isn't it a Super Bowl year every year for you guys? So, all right. Again, my apologies if my voice kind of comes in and out. I think I need to get my tonsils ripped out so I stop getting sore throats all the time. But my apologies if it kind of comes in and out and such. So we're going to talk some more baseball coming up here as we get set for Game 3 between the Brewers and the Tampa Bay Rays. We get the Miz Kid back on the mound this afternoon. First pitch, 12:40. Coverage begins 35 minutes prior. You can listen to that game right here on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. It's a day full of games on the radio dials, because then tonight we've got the Bucks taking on the Houston Rockets. That game is at 7 o'clock tonight. Coverage will begin at 6:30. The Bucks coming off of a win last night against did I say they play the Mavericks? They play the Rockets tonight. They beat the Mavericks last night, 123-99. And Bucks making a little bit of history because another Antetokounmpo brother played last night. Alex Antetokounmpo played last night, making his debut with the Bucks, and the Bucks becoming the first team with three brothers suiting up for them in the season. So Thanasis didn't play, Giannis didn't play last night, and such. So, but yeah, I guess there's that. Hey, Doc Rivers also is going to the Hall of Fame. So there you go. Another notch on the belt there. But yeah, he ain't going in the Hall of Fame for the job that he has done with the Bucks. We could just say that. So, but where are we at? So Bucks picking up their 30th win. They're 30-45 overall on the season. That's simple math tells us 75 games in. There's 82 of these to go here. So just 7 more to go. And if you're looking at draft status, or I should say lottery ping pong ball odds when it comes to the NBA draft, they're kind of in a battle right now with Chicago. They're up a game on Chicago, so Chicago's got a worse record, a little bit better chances at that better draft pick, depending on the ping pong balls. If you're looking at nobody else in the East. I mean, Bucks are at 30 wins, Bulls are at 29, then it's Brooklyn 18, Washington 17, Indiana 17. You're looking at the Western Conference, Memphis 25 wins, New Orleans 25 wins, Dallas 24 wins, Utah 21 wins, Sacramento 19 wins. So Bucks, you're going to have to lose some more games here coming up. Well, they got the Rockets tonight. That should be a loss to the Rockets. Then they got Boston coming up on Friday. That should be a loss to Boston. Memphis, who knows? Brooklyn, who knows? Detroit, you'd think that'd be a loss. Brooklyn, who knows? Philly, you'd think. So, what? 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 more losses here. But if they want to increase those odds of getting better ping pong balls in the draft lottery, got to lose some of these games. So, and only 7 more chances if we do see the return of one Giannis, the one Greek freak. I don't think we are. So, let's just really quick, a little bit of a golf nugget with the Masters coming up next week. I love the Masters. You love the Masters. We all love the Masters. There will be no Tiger Woods in the Masters. So, I know last week it's kind of like, okay, is he going to go there? And then, of course, what happened on Friday with his accident, Tiger Woods coming out with a statement yesterday saying, quote, "I know and understand the seriousness of the situation I find myself in today. I am stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health. This is necessary in order for me to prioritize my well-being and work towards lasting recovery. I'm committed to taking the time needed to return in a healthier, stronger, and more focused place, both personally and professionally. I appreciate your understanding and support and ask for privacy for my family, loved ones, and myself at this time." So, and honestly, that's what he needs. As much as I want to see Tiger at Augusta National next weekend, and I want to see him, going around Amen Corner. I would love to see him in contention on a Sunday at Augusta National for another great jacket. This is the most important thing. This is the most important thing for him. He's got to take care of himself first and foremost. Put golf to the side. We know he wants to be out there competing, and we know he wants to go out there and win as many more times as possible. But this is priority number 1 for him, and he's got to take care of himself. So, but Jason, going back to Doc Rivers, got is this going to be a little bit of your am I wrongs? Jason says, Hall of Fame for what? Being a nice guy, becoming a good coach when he had 3 Hall of Fame players on his team? Overrated. Hashtag should have brought back Coach Bud. I love it. I'm going to call that your am I wrong for this morning, Jason. I love that one. Tim in the Cooley region, he says the Damian Lillard trade never worked out. I was fooled thinking that was the missing piece. I would have rather kept Drew Holiday. Also was fooled by Virginia in 2018 when they lost to a 16 seed. That was the first time my bracket was busted in the first round. Good ones. Keep those coming. I like it. Okay, we'll take a quick break. Plenty more April Fools to get to you. And no, Jason, that Doc Rivers thing is not an April Fool's joke either. So, quick break. Plenty more to get to. We'll be right back after these quick words. Spring is here. Well, maybe after this incoming little wet weather, we'll call it, because I don't want to say the S word right now. But that means it's the perfect time to also freshen up your home. It's that time of year. And at Carpet City Flooring Center, now is the season to take a look at what's under your feet and imagine what it could be. From soft, comfortable carpet that makes any room feel cozier to luxury vinyl planks and tile built for busy homes, especially if you got baseball kids and such with the transition from seasons and such. Hey, there's something for every space, every budget, and every lifestyle. Maybe it's one room that needs a refresh, or maybe it's time for a full home update. Either way, their team is there to help guide you through it all, from choosing the right style to professional installation that you can count on. Because spring isn't just about cleaning out the old. It's about bringing in something better, a brighter space, a cleaner look, a home that feels new again. So if you're ready to upgrade this season, stop on in and see what's possible. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire, where your next project starts from the floor up. Paul on the Section 105 chat says, April Fool's, being a baseball card guy, anyone remember Greg Jeffries? I had a bunch of his cards thinking he was the next huge rookie card. Big shout out to Paul, by the way, dropping off a bunch of cards yesterday. Paul, if you're good with it, should we give one away today as part of our Inside the Hobby segment coming up here? So if Paul says yes, I'll throw out the question for a chance to get a sweet card or maybe a sweet pack that Paul was very, very, very kind enough to join. So Zach, also on Section 105, saying, good morning, Section 105. Good morning, Dan. How about the Brewers? What was that up looking at on that call to Turang, where he clearly touched first base? Yeah, I have no idea, Zach. No idea whatsoever what he was looking for. Even like for Turang, and then and then Bowers was the first base. So the Turang between first and second, calling it on a transfer, nah, dude. And then the first base one with Bowers, what the heck? So the Brandon Wolf, also on the video chat on Section 105, saying, I thought Clinton Dix was going to be the next Charles Woodson. That did not work out. There's another good one there, too. So, Brandon Wolf, you're a big basketball guy. Was there a basketball player that was kind of, you thought, man, I thought this dude was going to be really good and ended up not working out? What do you think? I'm trying to think of some how about all those like former number one picks that came out of high school, the Kwame Browns? He wasn't out of high school, but I remember Emeka Okafor from UConn. He was in the same draft, I think, as Dwight Howard. So, yeah, definitely some top picks maybe in the NBA. There's some good ones there and such. So, keep those coming. If you're just joining in, like, what are you guys talking about? April Fools. Who were the players or teams, or what was some of the trades or free agent signings that you were maybe fooled by? You can let us know in the Section 105 video chat room, or we got the crew over there chatting it up, or you can hit us up with the quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We'll switch gears here for a little bit and talk some football. Matt LaFleur, we had Brian Gutekunst and Ed Policy chatting it up at the owners meeting the other day, and we'll talk a little more green and gold with Joe. Joe, what kind of stood out to you hearing Matt LaFleur chat the other day?
I think it was the players not knowing their roles, and that led to what happened the back half of the season. And I think he did as good of job as you can in a situation like that. The coaching staff took responsibility, said we need to do a better job of outlining roles, but then also said it's on the player. And if you want to play more, make us put you in. Mm-hmm. So I think that was interesting. And, of course, Packers social media, speculation all over the place on who these players were, are, whatever the case may be. I've heard Matthew Golden. I've heard Romeo Dobbs. I've heard Rasheed Walker. I've heard Nate Hobbs. I've heard Quay Walker. I've heard Kingsley Enikbare. I've heard Rashawn Gary. So it doesn't matter really who it is. And my speculation is that it's probably a mix of guys that are still on this team and a couple of guys that may no longer be on this football team. But Matt LaFleur took responsibility, but also pointed the finger to why the season didn't go the way that it should have, and really laid it on maybe players not accepting their roles. So I thought that was really interesting. I think also, he addressed the elephant in the room with his grade from the NFLPA. So I thought he did that well. So, he was about as forthright as you're going to get. I think there's still more to the Rich Bisaccia story for him not really communicating with Bisaccia on his exit. I thought that was intriguing and interesting. But yeah, I thought that he also talked about finishing games and the sense of urgency. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me too is he said we have to be so aware of this going into this season, whether it be an individual drill, whether it be a team drill, we got to finish the drill. So, you self-scout and you look inwardly in a situation like that. And I think it sounds like LaFleur has done that.
Mm-hmm. Looking at, Brian Gutekunst also chatted a little bit, and he did acknowledge, maybe Kirk Cousins talked about him as a potential backup option. Would you be good if Green Bay brought in Kirk Cousins?
I'd have zero issue with that. I think, look, he's in one of those situations where it's not going to cost a lot because he's already getting paid by Atlanta still. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't mind that at all. I'm a big believer in a strong quarterback room. I think having a quarterback with Cousins' experience and, a lot of insights into what Jordan Love might be seeing out there, I would have zero issue with that. And I think that would be an amazing QB room. My speculation would be then is that they draft a developmental prospect. And so I see, I could definitely see Green Bay making this move, and I'd have zero problem with it.
Ed Policy also chatted, and I thought this was kind of an interesting thing that he said. And he noted that Matt LaFleur became a member of the NFL's head coach subcommittee, and Goody joined the league's general manager advisory committee. And he said, quote, one of the things we really wanted to focus on is having a little more relevance and a little more influence at the league level. Those committees existed, but the Packers never had representation on those committees. So this will be the first time that the Packers have had representation on either of those. And I'm happy that our guys agreed to serve on both of them. That kind of surprised me that no Packer GM or head coach ever served on any of those committees. Why do you think that's a big deal, too?
I think it's the ownership structure again. I think the league is kind of a windsock sometimes, and I think by that I mean it blows in the direction of those who speak loudest or have the most money or whatever the case may be. And I think without that loud owner in the room, I think Green Bay can get bypassed a little bit and kind of looked over a little bit when you've got those types of situations. So, I applaud it. And again, we don't know back in Ron Wolf's day, did they even have those committees available to the GMs and et cetera, et cetera. So we don't know the whole story there, but I think it's great. And I think the more voices that Green Bay has without that loud ownership voice, I think the more voices they have in these committees, I think the bigger difference they can make. So, yeah, shocking a little bit, but also when you look at the ownership structure, you say, well, maybe not so shocking. Maybe it is what it is because Green Bay just doesn't have that rich owner. So, yeah, I thought that was good policy again. I think talked about the healthy fear he has about making sure that Green Bay stays financially solvent. As some of the venture capitalists can now own parts of teams. So, again, I think policy is keeping an eye to the future, and I think he's also keeping an eye on Green Bay's positioning in the league. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really critical, and I think this is exactly who you want in that seat, somebody looking down the road and having the best interest of the football team and the organization today, but also down the road. I want to go back to Goody for just a moment too, Dan, because I thought another interesting thing is he talked about the confidence that they had in Sean Ryan and how moving him to center and thinking that he was an average guard and now an above average center, it really kind of spoke volumes too on kind of where this team was looking to go this offseason. The last couple of years, whether it be free agents or trades, Green Bay and Brian Gutekunst have made big swings. This year, it's now, just kind of finishing off the edges of this team. And so I thought the Sean Ryan situation was interesting. And again, going back to now LaFleur talking about Jordan Love. And there's been some national writers now saying that it's time for LaFleur to give the keys of the car to one Jordan Love. So, yeah, some good stuff. And you and I talked a couple of weeks ago that this is the dead part of the year. But then when you get to these owners' meetings, you get some trade rumors. And I think there's going to be some bigger deals still coming up in the NFL. I think you're going to see some trades. I think you're going to see some names being traded. There's speculation out there that there's still chatter that Dontavian Wicks might be involved in some trade talk. So, yeah, I think that this was a really good representation from Policy, Gutekunst, and LaFleur.
Yeah, I think so, too. And, I appreciate him trying to take the high road with the Rashawn Gary question about were you surprised? I mean, no GM's going to answer, yeah, I was surprised I got this for this guy. But I appreciate the attempt from Ryan Wood and such to ask that. But
you know what? And again, I tip my hat. The fact that he was as good as gone, had already prepped his goodbye message to Green Bay, had already sent it out. I shouldn't even just say prep it.
Yeah, he was not hacked.
He was not.
Anybody
hacked.
Who believes that, April Fools.
Yeah, right. So, no doubt. And the fact that they got a fourth, and when you look at projections for next year with what Green Bay will have draft capital, obviously no number one, but then you look and you're probably going to have a couple of number threes. You might have 3 number 4s. So they're going to have some draft capital next year, and I think that was also on Goody's mind looking at this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to Ed Policy here thing, too, because I thought this was a little interesting. He talked about the Lambeau Field structure. I don't know if you saw this.
I didn't get a chance to dive into it as much.
So he did say that the organization did a study a few years ago to see how the concrete and steel rebar of the stadium has weathered the past 60-plus years, because everybody's building new stadiums and such. Research showed that the structure should remain in good standing for at least the next 50 years and probably much longer than that. The study would not go any further than 50 years, but it does have to remain state-of-the-art. We're going to have to continue to modernize it. It's also one of the most expensive stadiums in the entire league to operate because it is older, but we're going to have to continue to maintain it and continue to modernize it and update it. It's just important that it remain not only iconic, but also state-of-the-art, which I'm sure there's going to be some fans, too, saying on the heels of the naming,
get off of my lawn.
Yeah, right. So it's like, don't modernize it so much, It's like roof on the stadium now sort of thing and that. But, I mean, again, that's what you're supposed to do, for crying out loud, right? I mean,
look, you do it at your home. You do it in your business. Your football team also has to do it.
Yeah.
So again, those that just yelled, get off my lawn, can just relax. I think Green Bay has done, look, I think, and again, we've talked about Bob Harlan. We've talked about what has been done with Titletown. We've talked about all of those things. And I think Green Bay has done a tremendous job in keeping the spirit, the tradition, the history alive, keeping the look and feel of Lambeau Field alive, and still making it one of the premier state-of-the-art facilities in the country. So, yeah, I think, I really, Dan, I really like what Policy is saying, and I really like what he's bringing to the table. And I think having that that guy that grew up in a football family, obviously Ed Policy, son of Carmen Policy, with the 49ers franchise, very successful franchise, having that type of legacy in that role, I think is critically important. I think, again, kudos to that succession plan going from Bob Harlan to Mark Murphy to now Policy.
And that kind of relates to my next follow-up about Policy and such. I know it's not the first 100 days at office. It's past that and such, and it's still early in his tenure. But you look at, okay, he's got his GM and his coach in these committees. He's talking about this. He's talking about that. I've actually been impressed. I know it's a lot of it is just, what he has said and such, and not a whole lot of action at this point. But I don't know. I feel like comforted that he's the guy. I don't know if that's the right word, but comforted that he is the guy lead us way, because it feels like he's got the vision in mind. We got to be, iconic, keeping everything, still Packers wise, but still, okay, if we want to be that way, let's be realistic about some of this stuff over here too. And, with that, putting Matt LaFleur and Goody in those committees, part of me was wondering how much of that was going back to his, dad days and seeing all the intertwines and the back room sort of behind the curtain sort of stuff there too. So,
yeah, I think so. And I think, look, I've been watching, several years ago, Green Bay put out a decades, I don't know if you saw it, the Packers produced it. It was a history of the Packers decade by decade. Mm-hmm. And I was watching the 80s recently, and it talked about the fact that, again, you had Judge Robert Perrins, who was the CEO of the board, and you had people like that who were really successful businessmen. And Robert Perrins, of course, was the person responsible for firing Bart Starr and hiring Forrest Gregg. And it talked about that these were successful business people in this role, but they weren't football people. Mm-hmm. And I think Bob Harlan was with the organization early on, I think in the 1970s. So he was with the organization for quite a while before he took the role. Mark Murphy obviously played the game. I believe he was AD at Northwestern at the time that Green Bay hired him, I believe, and had policy coming from the Carmen policy tree. So I think putting those types of people that are smart business people into a position that still know football, and I equate it very favorably, because I still think the key to Wisconsin's turnaround, and again, I know people don't want to hear about a Wisconsin turnaround with Luke Fickell right now, but that doesn't happen without Pat Richter. Mm-hmm. And Pat Richter obviously knew the sport of football, played it at a very high level. Yep. Pat Richter was the CEO of Oscar Mayer when he took on that role. So you've got a guy who knew sports, but also knew business. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Green Bay has really done a really nice job over the last 30 years of putting people in that position that understood the business of football.
Mm-hmm. And not just, it's not like a super fan, or like, let's be real, like the board could kind of, come from a fan perspective.
Absolutely.
Of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That board, and that board still, I mean, you see the regular names on there, Aarons, Bergstrom, those types of people that it's the image of my business is attached to the Packers.
Yep.
And so I think, again, I've loved everything I've heard from all three, but policy, I'm with you. I think comforted is a good word. I think confident is also a word that I want to go with, because I'm confident in the leadership of this organization. Mm-hmm. Whereas, look, how many of us are confident in the leadership of the Bucs right now? Right? I mean, so to be confident at every level of CEO, general manager, and head coach, I think is a good place to be.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to read this text because I think I can recruit you as my soldier in this never-ending fight here with Matt LaFleur.
Okay.
All right. Don't you think for a playoff team and a team that's been above 500 for like the last 30-plus years that we're kind of a mess? I think they have a good core of players that can lead. LaFleur comes off as soft, passive, whiny, and doesn't have grit to fortify the team under pressure. When players speak out about this issue, there's a lot of truth to it. But what about the players that speak in support of LaFleur? Do we have to factor that into it too? I mean,
you've got, look, and was that a listener or what?
Yes, this is from Rick.
Okay. So. All right. So I don't care if you're a CEO, a head coach, whatever. You have 53 people below you. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but you have, that's just the players. Mm-hmm. Okay. You also have 12-ish assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. If I'd like to see any person out there, CEO, coach, or whatever, that you're going to get all 65 of your employees to like you.
Yeah.
And to get all of your employees to perform at their 100% maximum effort. And so I'm going to go back to what LaFleur said. And again, mess, I think that's heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Again, Packer fans, put yourself in other shoes for just a moment. How about the Cleveland Browns?
Yep.
How about the Lions for so many years?
Mm-hmm.
How many Super Bowls do those two franchises have? And so I'm going to go back to what LaFleur said. LaFleur said, look, some guys weren't happy with their roles, and that's on us.
Yeah.
We take responsibility as coaches. But some guys, if they want a bigger role, play better.
Yeah.
You know, look, I coach high school football. We tell our kids all the time, make me have to play you. And so I think Mess is taking it just a little bit too far. Is LaFleur sometimes, perceived as that player's coach too much? Maybe. Mm-hmm. We're not at 1265. And again, going back to, the 80s, okay? So going from Bart Starr to Forrest Gregg. Bart Starr was considered a player's coach, too soft. So let's swing the pendulum now and go to Forrest Gregg. Forrest Gregg, too hard. And so to find that sweet spot in the middle of being the hard ass and then being the guy that you can go to, it's tough. Mm-hmm. It is not an easy thing. And again, there are 32 NFL head coaches. 32 of those positions are out there. It's a pretty select few. Mm-hmm. And again, I say that is LaFleur, is he the guy? I don't know. I think so. I continue to think so. Do I have my issues with him? Of course I do. Mm-hmm. As a fan, as a Monday morning quarterback, as a guy who watches football, are there things I would do differently? Of course. But again, I'm going to go back to it. If you're a CEO of an organization, you have every one of your employees rowing in the right direction. Every one of your employees every day reaching their potential. I'd like to show him. Show me him or her. Because I think that's a rare find. Mm-hmm. And again, I think the job that LaFleur has done transitioning Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, that's not easy, guys. That managing Aaron Rodgers and getting him to perform at his highest level, because he was not performing at a very high level when he took over, when Matt LaFleur took over.
Right.
And so bringing Rodgers back, and I go back to McCarthy. McCarthy did this with Favre.
Yep. I was just thinking the same thing.
So I again, a mess is way too much of a hyperbole, way too much of a generalization. Are there question marks? Of course. Mm-hmm. Of course. This team, are there question marks since 1992 why this team has only won 2 Super Bowls? Yes. 100%. Do people need to be held accountable for that? Absolutely. A mess?
Yeah, the mess would not be a word that I would use to describe the Green Bay Packers right now.
No. A competent organization? Yes. Mm-hmm. That is underachieved? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. A mess? No.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. 100%. I mean, even across the border, not far from us. You look at that situation too.
Yeah, it's.
I wouldn't call that a mess, but I mean, empty trophy case.
Yeah, again, I have plenty of Viking fan friends who continue to say, "Consider yourself lucky."
Yeah, that's where I go for perspective. Sometimes is like I'll ask a Bears fan or a Vikings fan, like, okay, like the whole Matt LaFleur thing. What do you think of it? Oh, he's a really good coach. Right. I'd love to have
They're
him.
more objective about the Packers coaching situation than Packer fans are. By the way, I just had this conversation the other day. I've been alive for 3 Green Bay Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. I'll take it. Mm-hmm. I've been alive for 3 Green Bay Super Bowls. I have 4 Super Bowls, 3 wins. Mm-hmm. So I'll take it. Yeah. And again, do I want more? Of course.
Who doesn't want more? That's why we're sports fans, right?
That's why we do this.
Yeah.
But if you look at it objectively and say, are we in a better position than 2/3 of the franchises out there right now? Probably. Mm-hmm. Probably. Yeah. So yeah, it's mess is a little bit high. And before we jump, your Tony Mandarich, your who were we fooling on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, you were right. Mandarich was the guy, but I'm going to tell you mine. when the Packers acquired John Jefferson. You had Lynn Dickey.
Mm-hmm.
You had James Lofton. You had Paul Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
You had complementary backs in the backfield. I believe it might have been Eddie Lee Ivory and Jerry Ellis. You had a really good offense. Now, again, the defense on those teams were horrible. But when the Packers went out and acquired John Jefferson, first of all, JJ was one of my favorite players at the time. I think they acquired him. I want to say late 70s. I think it was maybe early 80s. I thought that was it. I thought JJ and Lofton and Kaufman and Dickey and those guys, that was it. The Green Bay Packers were going to do something. Mm-hmm. I also thought, and again, we don't know because of the injury, that Don Majkowski was it. So those were two times, just going back to your question when you were fooled, JJ and Majkowski.
Mm-hmm. We've all been fooled. I continue to say it. I was fooled on Rodgers and Love.
Going back, I was fooled on Love. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, has he put himself in that upper echelon yet? And he's on the fringe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was fooled. I was a draft day basher of Jordan Love. The other guy, by the way, I see your blue and yellow that you're wearing, Ryan Braun.
Oh, fool! Oh yeah, I believed him.
I believed him.
That's a good one. That's a good poll.
Yeah, I believed him. And so, I'd say that
who else believed him? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers believed him.
Yeah.
What was it, 12-8? They had the restaurants and stuff, so or 8-12, whatever it was.
He tweeted he would bet his salary for a year or two in that.
Yeah, I would. But from a Packer standpoint, I think JJ's my biggest. And I think overall, though, you look at it, and I think Ryan Braun.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That is a really good one. I definitely got fooled on that one.
Yeah, I was 100% in his corner.
Mm-hmm. Man, I still remember I was working at the Y, sitting in my office watching that press conference for Ryan Braun walking out and watching. Oh yeah, totally believable.
Yeah,
totally believable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and look, it's the nature of the beast.
Yep.
I don't care if you're an NFL GM or whatever. We get fooled on people. We get fooled on situations. It just happens. By the way, not a fan of this day.
No, you don't like pranks?
I used to. I'm just too old for. Look, I am to get off of my lawn on this. Here's what I say, and I'm not whining because life is really good, but there are days when life can be really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Why make it harder?
Yeah.
And when you have to wander through pranks and landmines just to get through the damn day.
Hey,
so
it could
not
be worse. NFL free agency could start today. So it could be worse. Right? Yeah. Then you got it'd be worse for the Adam Schefters and
that
the
would be horrible
out there.
That would be horrible. It really would. That would be horrible.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Good stuff.
Hey, get better.
Morning. Yeah. I think I just need my tonsils ripped out. I talk too much.
You know what? I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. I could do it. I'm not a doctor, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. I didn't, but I don't think you want your tonsils ripped out.
I'm tired of having a sore throat every month.
I understand, but I don't think that having someone
rip them out.
No, I don't think that's the answer, sir.
Maybe I should just stop yelling all the time. So
get better.
All right, thank you. All right, quick break. We'll be back with plenty more coming up after these few words. Road trip season is right around the corner. Are you and your vehicle ready to go the distance? Before you hit the highway, make sure your vehicle is in top shape with the help from AJM Automotive. From oil changes and tire checks to brakes and engine work, their experienced team will make sure that you are ready for wherever the road takes you. And now with 2 convenient locations in Eau Claire, getting your vehicle serviced has never been easier. Plan a trip. AJM Automotive will handle the rest. Visit AJMAutomotiveServices.com to schedule your appointment today. Just had, I got to come up with a name for my vehicle, but just had the truck in for an oil change and a good look-see over yesterday from AJM Automotive. Got a clean bill of health, some fresh oil in there. We're ready for summer, man. So big thanks, AJM Automotive. Always top service with the crew over there. We do have to play a little catch-up, so I do have to take another break here very quick because we are already approaching halftime here on this Wednesday morning, the Making the Turn Wednesday. Yeah, Sam, surveyor, say, dude, have you tried garlic hot water? Yes. Take a teaspoon of honey. Dude, I eat a jar of honey. I was like taking taking our jar yesterday and just like spoonfuls trying to help out. Popsicle, yep, did it. Humidifier, there's one on my desk, man. But, dude, I don't know what is going on with this thing. I don't know what. Nick says, with the comments from Ed Policy and Matt LaFleur made the other day, I'm really interested to see if there is a noticeable change in play calling, second half adjustments, overall energy from the team. I think a lot of people are kind of curious to see the change in that. I think there is going to be. Now, will it actually, happen on the field, if you know what I mean? So, Nick, rest of you who haven't chimed in, who is a player, who is a team, or maybe a trade or a move on this April Fool's that you were fooled by? All right, who did you think was going to be really good and wasn't, or who you thought was going to be really, bad and ended up not being? Brandon Jennings was a pick from Jason, more famous for Bucks and 6 than his play. So keep those picks coming. A little bit later on, thanks to our friend Paul, we're going to be giving away a card. We got a little Inside the Hobby coming up here. Some more details to come on that. But Paul also says, Ryan Broad fooled me too. I even got his signature and a photo with him during that scandal. He was my guy. Dude was my guy too. First jersey that my now wife got me for my birthday was 2 of them, actually. Brody and J.J. Hardy. J.J. Hardy ended up getting traded like days later. But yeah, Brody was my guy too. Tried to emulate his swing. Walkout song was Go Getta because of Brody. I completely forgot about that. Was a good one. All right, we got to take a break as we wrap up the second hour. Plenty more to get to here in the next 2 hours. We'll be right back after these quick words.